Hi, this is Ray Lindstrom with another series of my family home movies here. And this is from 1979 to 1980. The first person we see right here is my dad, Alvin Lindstrom. And we're in California celebrating Christmas. He's there with my 1980 Cadillac Seville. How about that? Different kind of car. We're here with my wife's relatives, my wife's brother and sister-in-law, and there's little Kara, who is my kid's cousin. And here I'm there with my son. This is Barry Lindstrom, who's doing a little roller skating here. And my daughter, she's the tall one, and Kara, she's the shorter one. And there's my dad's old Chevy in the background there. And we're here in California spending Christmas with the family. Looks like everybody got skates for Christmas. This is 1979. And this fine Kodachrome home movie film is very old, but you know, the color stands very, very well after all this time, doesn't it? Absolutely amazing. Yep, there's the car. This is when I was we had a company called National Consumer Events, along with Lindstrom and Jet Advertising. We did Christmas shows all over the country. And in Christmas of 1979, we had just done 3 shows, a big one in Chicago, big one in Anaheim, and our show in Phoenix. Now we're inside. Of course, it's really difficult to see the inside of homes because the lighting was so bad. You really had to have outside sunshine to get any good filming. So there's my son Barry, and there's Kara, and my daughter in the background is Karen. And I think we saw Uncle Alan and Aunt Liz there too, and some other relatives. Everybody's having a real good time. There's Liz, and there's Uncle Alan. The whole family is there. I think there's a youngster, a real little kid there that's just around that was just recently born, and that was Becky. We don't see too much of her, maybe later on. Maybe she's just a little tiny baby in those days. But anyway, my daughter Karen is playing with her cousin Kara. Christmas 1979, the Lindstrom family. There they are all lined up, and I believe that's that little red-headed gal, Becky, being held there by Liz. And there's Barry Lindstrom and my daughter. And since Karen was born in 1960, when was she born? 1968. So she is about 11 years old, and my son was born in 1966. So he is 13. And you can tell that it's Christmas time, and the little baby is being passed around, and everybody's putting hats on. Oh, I tell you, that Uncle Alan, he's a real clown, isn't he? There's Aunt Liz. Great time. Christmas time. Families get together, and there we were. As a matter of fact, my dad stayed at the Universal Sheraton, and he was in the elevator with Telly Savalas, who's a bald actor. And he said, "Hey, a lot of people call me Telly because I got a bald head too." And Telly Savalas told him, "That's okay, just as long as you don't get in my racket, buddy." Speaking of rackets, now we're in Visalia, California, at Grandma and Grandpa's house on Mill Creek Drive. And this is about the same time period, I would say, somewhere around 1979. There's Grandma, my mom, Grace Lindstrom, and my dad, Alvin Lindstrom. There's Karen Lindstrom, my daughter, and there's my wife, Diane. She's proved being in the films now, and we're having a great time. There's my son, Barry. And so this is the backyard. My dad worked at the J.R. Simplot Corporation in Hanford, California. He was in charge of their office over there. This was his job right after he came back as the executive financial director of a big company, Pennzoil, in Brussels, Belgium. So he's in Visalia, California, and I used to stop in and see him all the time when I would have various art sales, various sales we would have in Visalia and all around there. Never knew what business I was in. I had a lot of different businesses. There's Dad. Dad and I, we looked a lot alike, didn't we? Yes, we had similar faces. Lots of it. That's right. My daughter with the shuttlecock, or birdie as we called it, Everybody likes to play badminton. I haven't played badminton in a long time. I used to play that in the backyard. I think is that an Olympic sport still? I'm not exactly sure whether it is or not. We always had a good time. And of course, we always had the movie camera out. And we had never-ending movies, thanks to me. There's my wife, Diane. Before that, you saw my mother, Grace. Grace was born in Chicago in the early 1900s and met my dad in the late 1930s. As a matter of fact, they worked for the same company. And their first date was an 8-day bicycle race. Well, they didn't stay on the date for all 8 days, but I understand. Oh, there I am, right there playing badminton. Finally, I gave the camera to somebody else. But their first date was a bicycle race, and I understand they only watched about 4 hours of it. Ah, my dad, he really knew how to have fun with the girls. Boy, took her to the bicycle race. Yes, indeed. My dad's been an accountant now for many, many years. Oh. Now we're fast forwarding to the summer of 1979 or in 1980, and this is Arizona State University, and Diane Lindstrom has just graduated from law school. So this is a big event, and the entire family is there. There's Alan and Liz, and there is the graduate standing in front of the College of Law with a flower in her hair. It's Diane Lindstrom, my wife. There's Barry Lindstrom with his camera, and there's Gus, his grandfather, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law Helen in the background there, and Alan and Liz, and the blonde gal right there is my daughter Karen. And there is a friend of Diane's, Carol Long, with the dark hair, and got a lot of pictures that day because it was a very important occasion. It was also the year that my son graduated from 8th grade. He did that from Christ Lutheran School in Phoenix. So everybody's here for the big event. And that's Carol Long, and I believe that's her son right there in front of her. So that's the whole family, and they're celebrating this great event because Diane, she worked real hard. She finished up at ASU, got her undergraduate degree, and went to law school. And she went on to have a fine career in law. There is Kara. That's our brother-in-law, our brother and sister-in-law's girl, and that's where the big event took place, right there at the big auditorium. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but it's their basketball arena. I think it may be called Wells Fargo Arena. I think I'm not exactly 100% sure. See, I should know that when I'm doing this, but anyway, there are all the graduates. ASU Law School, very fine law school. Now it's named after Sandra Day O'Connor. Look at that. She's got her mortarboard up there. It's a big time, boy, to graduate from law school. We were all proud of her. And everybody worked hard to make sure that she could do that. She was studied real hard, and she did real well. And all of us, we had tasks we had to do. I know because I was self-employed. I spent a lot of time with the kids while she did that. And then she went on to take her bar exam and did that and had a fine career in law school, in the law, and she was in a very famous case, as a matter of fact, when she graduated from law school, and she was a member of the Bar Association in 1981, and she was involved as one of the defense lawyers in the Steven Steinberg murder case. That's where he murdered his wife by stabbing her a number of times, and claimed that it was all done while he was sleepwalking, and he was found not guilty, and Diane was part of that defense team. So she did a great job, as did the other lawyers too, I would imagine. There we are, the backyard of our house. We're all getting all jazzed up. I think there's Diane, and there's Barry, and everybody's happy because Barry has just graduated from 8th grade. That's right, that was the big event right there. Now we're going to go watch Barry this was his first big job. He was a newspaper boy for the Arizona Republic, and he'd have to get up very early in the morning, count his papers, wrap them, and then send them off hurtling into the neighbor's front door. That was his job while he was in 7th and 8th grade. And every once in a while, when it was raining out, he'd wake me up and say, "Hey, Dad, can you give me a ride? It's raining out today." And of course, I was always Mighty happy to do it, wasn't I? Yeah, of course. I'd love to know what date that is. If I could zoom in on that newspaper, we could find out what date that was. Oh, we have to insert the supplements. And that's the Arizona Republic. I don't think that was the Sunday paper. I think it's a regular weekday paper, so it's not too thick. Boy, I tell you, the newspapers have gotten thinner, haven't they? Look at how thick that paper was. Wow. Not anymore. Newspapers are real thick. Newspaper business is really tough these days with the internet and with television and cable TV. They're just not as popular as they used to be. Circulation is down. Classified section has given way to Craigslist on the internet. And the newspaper business is not fabulous anymore like it used to be. But the Arizona Republic is still a good newspaper. It was bought by Gannett quite a few years ago. There's the sun just coming up. Got to make sure those newspapers get to the doorsteps. There's Blessed Sacrament Catholic Church, which is right down the street from our house. Don't get hit by that truck, Barry. Be careful. Okay, that's where we lived out there in North Scottsdale. Matter of fact, our home was at 6420 East Gary Road. We paid $42,000 for that house on an acre way back in 1972. I've got some other home movies of that. And the last report was in the middle, maybe around 2007. It sold for $750,000. A little bit of inflation there, I would say, wouldn't you? Let's see now. Is he going to be coming up to the Lindstrom residence soon and delivering the paper? Well, perhaps. Perhaps. But he's on his way. Young man at work. And there is Karen with, rabbits. One of the many pets we've had over the years. We've had a lot of cats, but we also had some rabbits. And boy, oh boy, do they multiply. I remember we had a couple of rabbits. Next thing you know, we were out there and we had about 20 rabbits. Wow, when they say that rabbits multiply, they're not kidding. They multiply, and they multiply fast. Wow. So, but they're cute little things. We always like to have animals for the pets for the kids, and that was in the backyard. Oh, look at there. Wait a minute, how many do we have now? I'm sure maybe they multiplied while we were doing this film. That's quite possible. I can recall building a lot of cages for rabbits and other assorted animals. Now this is Kanai Anulu. Well, in 1980, my buddy and I, Ron Lundeen, and his son, his son John, and my son Barry, decided to go and have a nice vacation. This was after, well, actually, this may be, I wonder if this is 1980, 1981. This may be the summer of 1981. Now, these films have all gotten put together in kind of an odd format, but if I were to guess, I would say this is 1981, and I would say this was around, maybe when Barry was about 14 years old, and during his freshman year in high school, perhaps. And we all went to Hawaii, had some fun. There's my buddy Ron. Oh, he's like a brother to me, you know. He and I, we just had a great time and played a lot of Scrabble, and he was a he was a terrific guy. Ron passed away in 2013, and what a tragedy. He was just a terrific guy, and I really do miss him after all these years, you know. Anyway, the kids are going in the swimming pool, and there's the ocean right there. And while Ron and I are playing Scrabble, undoubtedly, because we must have played thousands and thousands of games of Scrabble. Funny thing is, we started out playing chess years ago, and I would always beat him, and he would always be aggravated at me because he had a higher IQ than I did, and so he always thought he should win, but I would beat him at chess. Well, one day he said, "Hey, why don't we play Scrabble?" We started playing Scrabble that day. We never played chess again, and it was really interesting. We played tournament Scrabble, and we actually went. We actually played some big time tournaments, and I beat the national champion Scrabble player one time. Here's our familiar board, and what is that? I wish I knew what it was. Unfortunately, we did not, I think it said Hawaii on there, but I don't think there was a good focus on that camera, of course. Anyway, we're going to do something else here, and of course I have somebody else running the camera. There I am. Rarely do you see me in the pictures because I usually am the guy behind the camera. So, this was a rather unusual event. Ray Lindstrom and putting together something there, and who knows what it was. Well, that was the end of our trip to Hawaii. Now, Karen and I, we went down to Mexico because I had to do some oil painting sales there. So we just had a brief visit to Mexico, and I think we were in Guadalajara and Mexico City. Had a good time, and that was about that. But anyway, you know, we were still in the oil painting business, selling oil paintings in those road shows, you know, the starving artist type sales. This weekend only, thousands of oil paintings, save 50% and more on beautiful sofa-size oil paintings. Yep. And we actually did them in Mexico, and I remember making commercials in Mexico for the oil paintings, and I got somebody to translate, and unfortunately he translated oil paintings into grease paintings instead, so that wasn't too good. But we did have a good time, and there we were down in Mexico, Karen and I would say that that probably was around 1980, 81, in that era. Yes, we had a good time. See, my daughter, who is probably, let's see if that was 1980, so she has to be, I would say, about 13 years old. Yep, I think that's Mexico City or Guadalajara. I wish I knew, but not important. It was someplace in Mexico, and we were there for business, and while we were there for business, why, we also had some fun and enjoyed the area and saw lots of sights while we were there. Yep. I always like to take the kids wherever I went. I figured it was a good experience, business-wise, and also you got to see a little bit of the world. You know, I wish I would have taken movies of my businesses, you know, but I didn't. Just about every movie that I took was about. It was about the scenery and about the area and about the places we were and the visiting and the vacation and not business. And now I wish I would have had my camera in the TV stations and the radio stations and commercials that I did and all that sort of thing. But unfortunately, that wasn't meant to be. You're just seeing us doing a lot of movies and all these. Oh, look at their art sale. Isn't that something? Oh, there's my buddy Bill Stone. Yeah, here you go, Bill. He was quite a character. And this might even be me. Holy cow, it is me. Yep, I'm sure that that's Guadalajara, where we had our art sale. Venta de Arte, something like that. And I'm sure that this must be my daughter taking the movie camera and giving us a nice pan around there. Thank you. That was it. Yep, having fun in Mexico, selling paintings to the Mexicans. Now we're off for another adventure. Is that right? Where are we going next? I'm not exactly sure. We're going to have to have the movies tell us the story. We're still at the famous hotel where we had our oil painting sale in Guadalajara. Oops. Next time, now, where are we? Well, we're at a sporting event. And who all would be at that sporting event? Well, we're going to find out shortly. Aha! I see a group of cheerleaders. It couldn't be, perhaps, that my daughter was a cheerleader, could it? Could that blonde be Karen and a cheerleader? Well, my golly, I guess it is. And she was a cheerleader for Cocopa, which was a grade school in Scottsdale. She was one of the cheerleaders for her 8th grade cheerleading squad. And they were at all the different events, and it was great. And this was in 1980 that she did this, or 81, I guess. Let's see. If she graduated from 8th grade in 1982, then I guess this would be perhaps 1981 and 1982. And I hate to say it, but in these days, I believe that Diane and I were separated, so I was not living at home, but I would try to get out and see these events as best I could. And Diane and I always had a good relationship, even though it didn't work out too well at the house, I must say. And I will take full responsibility and blame for that. Diane was a wonderful person. She passed away in the gosh, it was about 8 years ago now, so that would have been, let's see, I'm doing this in 2016, and so I guess it was 2008 that she passed away, and she is and has been missed by everybody, especially her kids. And there's Karen, the cheerleader. This was in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Diane and I maintained a good relationship until she passed away. She had a great career as an attorney. She was president of the Arizona Bar Association Foundation, and she was involved in many legal areas and did a wonderful job. Anyway, this is it. This is the end. Here, coming up shortly, we're seeing the cheerleaders supporting their basketball team here, and all this, I would say, would be around 1981, 1982 in North Scottsdale, Arizona. The cheerleading squad for Cocopah School. My daughter and many of her girlfriends there, they had a good time, didn't they? You betcha they did. And that's what it's all about. And the second thing it's all about is me with my camera being able to take all these great photos. See the mountains in the background. And this was a great time, folks. Yes, indeed. So we're going to leave them now. This is Scottsdale, Arizona, the cheerleaders, and thanks for watching these home movies.